So, how long have you been sailing Hobie Cats?
I've been sailing Hobie Cats since 2012, so 12 years.
Okay.
I've been sailing Hobie Cats for probably about a year and a half now.
Oh boy. All right, cool. And so, what kind of background did you guys bring into the race to Alaska? Yeah.
Yeah, obviously John has done a lot of Hobie Cat sailing. I started sailing, actually we both started sailing about the same time, just about in high school. I grew up sailing Club 420, so a lot of monohulls. I sailed 505s and Vipers, and so I guess I had a lot of that, just sailing experience that we both had, and we both raced in college up in Boston, so we had a lot of experience with sailing in the wind and the ice and the snow, so I think we understood the cold pretty well.
Yeah, I also sailed a little bit of skiff sailing and
Transpac.
I sailed some offshore races, and college sailing together. And then after college, now we live in Colorado, so we're just looking for the next adventure and get back to the ocean.
Well, I remember you guys mentioning in Port Townsend that Kayla had done some massive hike or whatever. Can you describe that? And
Yeah. So I guess sort of when we got kicked out of school, for COVID, we decided to do the Appalachian Trail together. So that was sort of probably our first big adventure together, where we learned a lot about how to plan with each other, how to trust each other, how to deal with difficult situations like physically or mentally. And then last year in 2022, I did the Pacific Crest Trail with one of my best friends and sailing partners from college.
And how long is that? And how long did it take?
That took us about 4 months, so it's like 2,500 miles-ish long. So that was a really awesome adventure because, you really got the full sort of gamut of, really hot desert conditions to ice axes and crampons, like, miniature mountaineering in the Sierra, so.
It was, where's the 2,500? I missed the trail.
The Pacific Crest Trail, so along California and Washington, Oregon.
From
Mexico to Canada.
Okay.
And the long distance hiking that we've done together, Kayla's done, kind of gives us the background in gear and keeping our gear as light as possible. So we have this kind of ultralight mentality that led us to pare down our gear to the extreme for the race.
Cool. And then I looked it up. It was 9 days, 4 hours and 45 minutes.
I think 44 maybe.
Huh?
I think 44.
44. Every minute counts, man, when you're out there for that long. And then you were, correct me if I'm wrong, 13th overall. I thought it was 12th. 5th in the catamarans and 1st in the under 20 foot.
Yes, sir.
5th in the multi-hulls.
The multi-hulls, yeah.
First in the catamarans.
Yes.
Yeah. That extra hull really helped them, huh?
Exactly.
All right.
More water
What kind of cash prize do you get for the under 20?
$1,000.
Oh.
And a pair of tactical sporks.
Ooh.
Yeah. Titanium ultralight sporks.
They come
cool.
in a 7-pound box.
Oh my. I gotta read this one. What prompted two civilly minded individuals such as yourself to do something so crazy as to put life and limb at risk on such a small boat?
I like that. This one's you.
Just love the boat and love the ocean and couldn't resist the opportunity to do it for 9 days straight. And I think with the preparation we put into it, we felt pretty good that we weren't putting life and limb at risk.
Okay. And how did your family react to your decision? And were life insurance policies flying around?
At work, they did float the idea of life insurance. But
We're
They
both
didn't
gone.
have quite as much confidence in you.
We've put our families through a lot.
Through a lot, yeah.
And they were there preparing with us at the start, so they saw the preparation that went into the program, and so they were confident with us.
Cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of excitement. Now, my brother is telling me the other day that every time, because my family came out to the start, and every time my dad sees a boat, he's like, "Oh, like we could do that for the R2AK."
He's in
Oh
on it
yeah, a
now.
lot of excitement.
I know, while tracking you, I started believing myself. I was getting jealous.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh man, no.
We thought you were gonna register in match race us all the way up.
That would have been so fun.
That would have been. And when did you? So this race occurred in early June. When did you make the decision to go for it, and when did you start preparing?
So when Kayla was hiking the Pacific Crest Trail last year, I was home alone.
I was about
for
this
a
far
project.
along on the PCT too. I
Yeah,
was in Washington.
She was in Washington hiking around Mount Rainier, and I flew to Portland, picked up the Hobie Cat from my parents' house, and drove it out to her on the trail and said, "Hey, this is the boat that I have, and I think we should sail to Alaska in it." And she was busy with her hike, and she said, "Okay, we can do that."
Sounds good.
You caught her when she was wore down.
Yeah.
Wore down, waited. And can you give me an idea of what your preparation entailed?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pedal drive was probably one of the biggest amounts of preparation, and yeah, John definitely should talk a lot to that. In terms of other preparation, like a lot of it, making sure we had the right gear, the right food. A lot of training was one of the biggest things I really wanted to make sure we were focusing on, because a lot of that it's endurance. You're going so hard for such a short period of time, and so we did a lot of running. We actually, because of the pedal drive, we did a lot of bike training, like indoor bike training.
Yeah.
John set up like a recumbent position for the bike. So that was probably one of the biggest things. We were lifting a bunch and just really trying to keep make sure our muscles were ready to go for it.
Yeah, our muscles and our joints and everything, so that we didn't get injured during the race.
Yeah.
In all, I think we probably were putting in between 20 and 40 hours a week for a year. It was
Wow.
a lot of focus. Kayla
Yeah.
did a ton of work on the navigation side, had all the decision points mapped out that we would have along the course.
Started the process of building our own tent, but kind of nixed that idea.
Yeah, I didn't do that. There were a lot of projects that we started and realized that our time would be more well spent elsewhere. I think we could have put a lot more time into it, but there's a limit. So
Working with what we had.
the gear, especially, Kayla also put together a spreadsheet. So every item that we brought with us on the boat was in a spreadsheet with the weight, and if we didn't have it, the plan to get it, and how much it was going to cost, and what other people had said about it. And we also spent a lot of time talking to other teams who'd done the race in the past and asking them about what the hardest things they encountered were, and what gear they used, and what strategies they used to go fast.
Okay. Wow. And switching a little bit, you left Port Townsend for the proving grounds across the Straits of Juan de Fuca, which is no party, or at least can be. And what was your emotional state in Victoria? Were you confident or scared, or how confident were you that you would be able to finish?
I think pretty confident, maybe a little cocky. Once we got to Victoria, and we're like, that was so easy. That we finished it exactly how we planned. Maybe this whole race will go exactly how we think it's gonna go.
Well, and so did you guys run into any logs or bears, eagles, whales, anything like
I
that?
almost ran into a whale one time. There was zero visibility one night.
At night.
Yeah, and a whale just popped up. We didn't see the whale, but we heard the big splash, and we just go, hey whale, we're here. Don't hit us, please.
I don't think that you can scare whales off the same way you can with bears in the woods, but we tried.
We tried.
we saw no bears. We saw a ton of logs, but
Yeah.
didn't hit any of them. Thankfully,
Didn't hit any big ones.
all the logs disappeared at night, so that
Yeah.
was nice.
That was
Yeah.
helpful. They go to bed too.
So you devised your own pedal machine to fit between a tramp lacing on a Hobie 16. How long did that take you to build, and how many hours did you end up using it on the race?
So it took us probably 8 months of development. We had 3 different major versions. One's coming over the side of the boat, one's going forward on the boat, and then ultimately we landed on the one coming up the middle of the trampoline. Once we settled on a design, we did a lot of 3D printing and a lot of carbon fiber layups, and that probably was 80 to 120 hours of work to put it together. And then during the race, we pedaled about 150 miles, which
The last 2 days, it felt like we pedaled at least 80% of the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Calm before a big storm.
I think we both finished the race and we're seriously sore. We felt like we'd been on a bike tour instead of a sailboat race.
And what was your scariest moment on the race?
I honestly, well, we can talk about Cape Caution. Definitely was, yeah. That one was pretty scary, mostly because, we had checked the weather forecast when we had service and everything, and it was supposed to be, max of 20 knots at late afternoon, 2 or 3 p.m. So woke up at 4 a.m. We're like, we're gonna get through here before the breeze really hits on. And sailing along, and at 11 a.m. it's already 20 knots, and it's like, this is interesting. And I think we ended up going around Cape Caution and at least 2 meter seas, maybe 2 to 3 meter seas, and it was definitely blowing 30, 35. So that was, it's funny, after the fact it was scary. In the moment, you're so focused on it, and so, you're so communicative, and you're just, the adrenaline is just rushing so hard that in the moment it wasn't really scary. I think for me, the actually scariest moment was we got really cold one night, and John was pedaling, and it was probably 1 a.m. and I had tried to fall asleep, and then I woke up really suddenly, and I was like, I've never felt this cold in my whole life. And the internals of me felt cold, and that, to me, that was scary, because I just never felt like that.
Yeah, the Caleb waking up and saying, I've never felt like this before. I'm worried was the scariest moment for sure. I mean, the sailing was intense at Cape Caution, but that was really scary to think my partner was
And
in
maybe
danger.
maybe you might have to ditch the race at that point. You had to consider it at least.
At
I
that
hopped
point,
on the pedal drive and was
Yeah.
fine. But I mean, we pulled the shore and set up the tent, kind of went to bed.
went to bed, and
Yeah.
once we were inside the tent under our quilts and carrying body heat, that improves the situation a lot.
Yeah.
And do you have a funniest moment?
There's gotta be one. We had a lot of time laughing.
That's right.
The seals are pretty funny, I found.
Oh gosh, the seals are so cute.
Hilarious. They're
Pop up,
yeah.
they're 30 meters out in front of the boat. They pop up and they look at you like,
What are you doing?
here? And then they disappear. And you sail over the top of wherever they were, and then you look behind you and they'll pop back up. Yeah, that's right. Get out of here. they're real cute.
Yeah.
How did you guys handle eating and cooking?
So we had a jet boil
Okay.
pot to warm up water, and we were pouring that into Mountain House meals a couple times a day,
Or a bunch of bars
yeah,
and
Backpackers Pantry,
yeah.
and then bars, granola, nuts, stuff like that was easy to get down. We had a bunch of food from Scratch Labs
Yep.
that we were eating their gummies, and then also pouring those electrolytes into our water to just help us stay hydrated, and that also had quite a few calories in it. Overall, we found it was hard to eat enough, and on day 4 of the race, we ran into a previous racer, Team Sea Smoke from last year, who did it in a kayak, which is way harder than what we did. And he looked at us, we pulled into Telegraph Cove, and he looked at us and said, you guys aren't eating enough. I kayaked here and I'm gonna give you my food so that you guys can have some more calories. So he made us protein shakes, he gave us some magnesium pills, and he said, you guys need to start eating more, or you're not, you know, you'll make it, but you have to start eating more.
Wow.
So that was really an inspiration.
Yeah.
Helped
Yeah, we
us.
turned around the nutrition game a little bit.
We-
We've probably lost like 10 pounds in those 4
Yeah.
days. Just not eating.
So after that, it was like every half an hour, somebody gets a snack out, shares it every half an hour, and that helped us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. That was fortuitous. How do you handle bathroom breaks on Hobie 16?
Um,
The hardest part, honestly, was the dry suit.
yeah.
You gotta like unzip it or because we were wearing like salopettes on the fleece line salopettes on the inside, so it's just like you've got so many layers on,
So many
but
layers. And the trap harness.
and the
gotta
trap
come off,
harness,
and
the life jacket,
And
and we
once-
were always tethered into the boat.
Once you've got your gear off, you're not tethered in. You're not.
Yeah.
You're
Don't have
not
your life
staying
jacket on?
warm. You don't have your life jacket on, so it's
Make it
dangerous.
quick.
Yeah, make
Make
it
it
quick.
quick.
And then you're just hanging off the side.
Got pretty lucky and only really needing to go to the bathroom. I felt like when it was light wind.
So,
No.
We got good at holding it.
yeah,
yeah.
do that.
So what was the most useful thing you guys brought other than navigation?
I think either we bought offshore, or I bought an offshore jacket. John had one from Ocean Racing, and that was legendary because it's just this thick piece of Gore-Tex. It comes all the way down, full hood,
Foul weather gear. Yeah.
foul weather gear. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really huge.
We also had insulated bibs that
Mm.
were really nice. We wore those under our dry suits, and so
Yeah.
they mostly stayed dry.
Uh-huh.
It was
Yeah.
super nice.
Yeah, I think the niche things that like kept us warm were we had those like closed foam pads, the kind of like eggshell ones.
Mm-hmm.
We cut we cut one in half and we sat on that when it was like light wind.
Oh, yeah.
And, oh my goodness, that was
For warmth or
For
for
warmth.
just
For
Yeah.
warmth, because the trampoline is so breathable
Uh-huh.
that even just having a little pad to sit on made a huge difference. So
Uh-huh.
in all the tacks, the cruise
Oh,
job was
interesting.
tack the jib and tack the pad over to
Yeah.
the windward
Pad,
side,
yeah.
and tack the gear bags over to the windward side too.
if it was windy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you bring anything that was just a totally useless item that you said, why did we even bother bringing this?
I was wearing a pair of running shorts at the start, and I had planned to take them off because I didn't have any use for running shorts. On the race, we decided that wasn't a critical piece of gear, and then I forgot to take them off. I had my leggings on underneath, and so I got on the boat. We pushed off the dock in Victoria, and I looked down and said, "Oh shoot!" So those would be used.
I put the pink
Yes.
tape on there. How much do you credit that to your victory? The pink tape I put on was it really big?
It was. I mean,
Yeah.
especially the for the main traveler. Like truly, like we're going.
Oh,
it's
come
all
on.
of a sudden a reef. Just set it on
Did it
one
help
of
a
those.
little bit?
I think
We
so. Yeah.
we used them as
Oh,
talking
good,
points.
good.
Yeah.
Like have a tease about it.
Even more so though, having you guys show up, Peter at the start, and having our parents at the
Family.
start, family, the
Just
support,
support,
that really did
energy.
make the difference.
Yeah, and the fellow racers, and
Yeah.
I understand all that for sure. What was the proving ground like relative to the rest of the race? Now I know the proving ground's a shorter time, but in terms of, I don't know, mentally, emotionally, probably not physically, but
I think mentally it was probably one of the biggest differences. For the race, we set out and I think accomplished pretty well. Sailing at 80% the whole time, so that we
Uh-huh.
could make sure we get there. For the proving ground, it was a little bit more like like racing like this, where it's
Yeah.
like okay, we can sail at 90 or 100%.
that's a good way to
Yeah.
put
So
it.
I think physically, like I don't think I cleated the main sheet once, and so I just sat there for like 4 hours holding the main, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And when we got in, I was like, oh my goodness, I would have never done something so silly during the race.
Yeah, we were definitely pushing it a little
Yeah.
harder,
In
just
the
because
proving ground, yeah.
we knew we could.
And were you guys on the race itself? Were you getting updates, and did you know where you were and where competitors were?
During the first half of the race, we had cell service the whole time, so
Okay.
we could get updated weather and we could check where everybody else was. And then after we rounded Cape Caution, we had a little bit of service in Bella Bella, and then after that we were running blind, and we didn't see another boat after we left Johnstone Strait.
Yeah.
So we thought we were catching them. We were pushing pretty hard in the second half of the race. It turns out we got within 11 miles of the next boat in front of us, but we never saw them.
Yeah, we had the VHF weather, which was pretty helpful for a while, but even in some parts, the VHF weather didn't come through.
A few last little ones coming up here. Would you do it again
Absolutely.
Totally.
on a 16?
We would.
We would.
We're
but
also thinking about other boats.
something faster. It'd be fun to win.
Other catamarans.
If you do it again, if you did it on a 16 again, what one thing would you change? Asking for a friend.
Yeah. Coming to what the actual
Well, not
answer
just
is,
with the
but
boat, but just
the whole situation. Yeah, honestly, everyone before the race was telling us, oh my goodness, you guys are so crazy. There's no shelter on the boat. But that for us, I don't know. At least, I think for both of us, like that wasn't the hardest part, not having shelter. Really, it was like sleeping, because we wanted, or like the the rest schedule, because we wanted to both push so hard, and I think not being able to sail through the night was hard on us. Like we wanted to, and so I think, I don't know, figuring out some way in which you can really rest well, or be good about resting better, such that you can really push through the night a lot more.
Right. We spent 8 nights on the course, and 3 of them we spent on docks, I think. 2 of them at anchor, once in a hotel, and twice we sailed through the night. And so shifting that balance to more nights where you're sailing through the night could cut down the time a lot and make you a lot more competitive.
Yeah, I think we were stopped for 25% of the time of the whole race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sailing, racing are 75% of the time, and stopped 25% of the time, and cutting out as much as possible of that 25% of the time. You might not be able to get rid of it entirely, but then you could be a lot more competitive in the race. So that's the one thing we would change, I think, is figuring out how to spend more time sailing and less time stopped.
Well, this may be the same question, and if it is, then you've already answered it. But what one piece of advice would you give someone crazy enough to try R2AK on a Hobie 16?
I think plan well. I think that was one of, when we did our original interview with Jesse, we sort of talked about, success in the race is showing up to the start feeling prepared, and I think we did. I think we accomplished that, and I think that allowed us to, finish strong. And so that'd be my biggest advice, is like, make sure you're doing the proper planning, whether that's, in the pedal drive, because we really used the hell out of the pedal drive, whether that's in getting, having the right gear, but also, the physical training part of it.
My piece would be that, and then the second half is just to respect the ocean. And I know that we were really fortunate with the weather and the sailing conditions that we got, and just recognizing that the ocean's letting you be there and have that moment, and not getting too cocky about that. Definitely just respecting the place it is, because it's a really big place, and it can get scary really quick.
Well, you guys have really accomplished something. You're icons to many people now, and the respect you've earned has gone up tremendously for the accomplishment. And don't underestimate what you've been able to accomplish. It was a lot of fun for so many of us to follow you along, and you're an inspiration for so many people out there. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Peter.
All right, guys.
That was fun.